to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Writing Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, we are back, and we are back with book author Dan Wos. And Dan has written three books, A Good Gun, A Bad Guy. And so he's working on the fourth one, and as he says, he writes for a variety of different organizations at the same time, so you can find him on AmmoLand. And he does a podcast, too. So, Dan, tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Oh, we have such a blast with our podcast. It's a webcast. It's called The Loaded Mic, and people can find it at loadedmic.com. That's mic like microphone. And we just have a lot of fun. It's heavily based in Second Amendment stuff, so we're very gun rights oriented on the show. But we do get into the politics of the day. And my co-host, John Chiara, my son, Danny Wos Jr., produces the show. We are on a couple different networks, Right America Media, Simul TV, and it's just so much fun because we get into the psychology of what's going on up there. You know, like we're talking about some of the gun stuff here, the way they change the narrative. We get into that as deep as we can because we have it's a long-form show, and we can really expand on it. It gets pretty interesting. It's fun. We have a few laughs, and we sometimes it gets a little gritty, too. So the Loaded Mic, loadedmic.com.
Okay, well, great, theloadedmic.com. I'm going to tell you that Rob made me some notes today that he wanted to cover, and I think this is probably the time to cover it. Is that there's new media words where they are talking about our democracy is being jeopardized. So I want you to start to track how many times the media says democracy without really saying that it is a representative democracy, and because there's two different definitions, and there's so many Americans who don't understand what the United States is, how it's constructed. And so when you go to Webster's and you look at it, it's democracy, the definition is a state governed by a democracy or control of an organization or group by the majority of its members. And so that means that somebody can vote you out of your house, somebody can vote you away from your bicycle, somebody, if it's for the public good, they can take your car. That's the definition of democracy, as opposed to the representative, representative democracy, representative republic.
I see it lately as almost every politician on the news uses this. I mean, whether it's Hillary Clinton, it's some of the House and Senate that's
so is
going
it,
after.
Is it the right? Is it the left? Or is it a left-leaning?
It seems to be the Democrats who are saying that everything is going to erode or kill the democracy in the And so they're using this word over and over and over. I mean, I bet you listening to the news for an hour, you'll hear it 15 times.
So one of the things we want to do...
It's kind of like that gravitas that a couple of years back, everything was gravitas this until you were sick of hearing the word.
So one of the things we want to do is we want to put that earworm in your ear, and then we want to give you an open invite so that once you start to see that, then you call us and say you're coming back, and we'll talk about what you see and how that is going, because we think that it's going to be another one of those, kind of like some of the gun words that they use where they started to say, smart gun. And if there's a smart gun, then there's a dumb gun, right?
Well, I've already seen it. I've already recognized it. And let me give you a couple more that are similar to that. When they say common sense gun restrictions, anything with common sense is created so you jump on board because, of course, we don't want to be like...
You want to have common sense.
Right? The other thing, and the other thing that's really interesting that they use a lot, and you'll hear this everywhere, is, the majority of people agree. The majority of people agree. What's the implication there? The implication is that if you don't agree, you're in the minority. And we take the junior high popular table right through to our adulthood. At least some people are doing that right now. You can see that in public. Adults.
Everybody wants to be the cool kid.
Right.
And even in adulthood, it's still something that you can manipulate people with. If you can offer them a seat at the popular table, they're going to take it if they can't stand on their own and their own convictions. Now, many people, hopefully most people can stand on their own convictions and not need to sit at the popular table. But the majority of people agree that statement does exactly that. It finds those weak-minded people, and they gravitate toward whatever you're selling. So there you go.
Whatever you're selling, and what they're selling is a crock of cheese in a lot of cases. So, what do you think's going to happen in the next year? So, get out it's the end of the year. Get out, your fortune cookies, your crystal ball, your Ouija board, whatever it is that you use. Magic 8 ball, whatever you use to look to the future, and give me some ideas of what you think is going to be 2022 and beyond.
Well, I made a couple notes while we were talking, and I've been thinking a lot about this. And this all started in 2020, like I said before, when you mentioned it, people buying a lot more guns. Well, what happened in 2020 is that even left-wing liberals realized that their lives could be in danger. These are people living in Portland, living in Seattle, living in these cities that were getting burned down. They went out and started buying guns because they realized that self-defense was most important to them. But when it comes down to life or death, people choose self-defense to preserve their life. So that's being one thing. Kyle Rittenhouse case was another thing. We realized that self-defense really is important, and it really is okay to defend yourself. I mean, that's part of life. We have to be able to protect ourselves. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and a couple others are pushing a bill, a stand your ground, a national stand your ground bill. So again, we're recognizing self-defense. We talked about self-defensive gun use. 46% of women make up defensive gun uses in America every year. So what I think is happening is society is starting to recognize how important self-defense is. So moving forward, I think society is going to start embracing gun ownership, but certain portions of our government are going to try really hard to push back against that. So you're going to see a lot more Democrat bills being brought up, but you're also going to see society going against it. It's going to be really interesting. I think there's going to be a really strong push-pull for gun ownership.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I mean, it's because it's really interesting to look at the numbers where it was like 30% of all guns were owned by women, yet in the last 2 years, 50% of all guns were purchased by women. So that number's creeping up. And if you start to look at it, and you said, what percentage? 46%, 49%? What number did you say?
There was the Gary Kleck study, which showed us that there were 2.5 million defensive gun uses per year in America. That was Gary Kleck. He's a Florida criminologist. Within that study, and it's not highly publicized, but if you go deep into that study, you'll see that 46% of those defensive gun uses were by women.
Okay, so look at this. 46% of defensive gun uses are by women, yet women were only 30% of all guns owned. That says that they are preyed upon way more, and because there's so many women that didn't have a gun, that didn't have an opportunity to have a gun and use it for self-defense. So it really kind of ties in that crime against women is much higher than crime against men.
You always pick on the easy target.
Well, there you go. When you tie all of that together, so it's pretty darn amazing. Dan Wos, I want to thank you very much for coming on Eye on the Target Radio, folks. I want you to look him up. I want you to buy his book. I want you to go to theloadedmic.com, find him, and tune in, because you're going to no matter what you do, you'll learn something. It'll be amazing.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
supposed to ride, standing in the something that you do was red as the future was late ever yellow. Train rolls in the station. You cannot make a move. Something inside you gives you heat, and then you know it's true. Is the fog lifting, or is it in your mind? You stand frozen as time unwinds. And moan, you can't reach your hand up and stop standing alone. Let them take your hand as you lift your face. Rise and take your place.
Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Okay, we are back. This is the start of hour 2 of Eye on the Target Radio. And I want to start by mentioning somebody else, another not quite competition radio show, but close, which is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk Radio. And it is also on Salem Radio Network, so it is our parent network. And today I was asked to be a guest on Tom Gresham's show. So I'm just going to say that that's one of those kind of a bullet point bucket list items, because this is the first time I'd been a guest on his show. And it was all because of that WEWS article that came out. The local Cleveland station.
So every little bit helps, huh? It's all baby steps, so that you can get the way.
It's kind of
see
funny.
You somewhere or hear about you somewhere or.
Exactly. So in this case, WEWS reached out to me about women and guns in the Harvard study. And so they did a 4-minute video showing my comments, Candy Petticord's comments about why women own guns. And so it was a real interesting. It was an interesting thing. They interviewed Candy at the gun shop she works at, and they interviewed me at the range. And so not to put the pressure on, but I had to shoot a target that they filmed and then put on TV. So we'll just say, woohoo! But that it was a real interesting article, and because of that, one of Tom Gresham's folks found me and reached out, and then Tom Gresham had me on talking about being a trainer, training women, the new growth of women with guns, the Harvard study. So it's all a kind of a big thing. So hopefully, if you guys want to tune in and catch it, it was today's show for Gun Talk Radio, and it was the bottom of the hour of the second hour, because he does he's on from 1 to 4. And it was the 2:30, so it was the second hour, the bottom of the hour. And so if you're looking it up, it's the 26th, December 26th, Tom Gresham Gun Talk that I was on. And those of you who watch our show get to see Crosley periodically, where he's a bad dog. So if you listen to the interview, you'll get to see Crosley trying to ride a four-wheeler, or you'll get to hear Crosley trying to ride a four-wheeler that went by.
So, he was just standing inside complaining about the fact that he wasn't allowed to ride. He didn't get to ride
the four-wheeler. Yeah, so as I'm on the big deal, the 2A radio show, the one, it's like when I grow up, I want to be like Tom Gresham. So it was pretty interesting. So tune in. Let me know what you think.
Have you seen where a couple different states are working on constitutional carry, and Ohio is one of those?
Right.
And then are you seeing where all of a sudden everybody's jumping on the bandwagon where it's not a good idea because you should get some training of some kind?
Well, and I've had those conversations, and my answer back is with constitutional carry, we always advocate for training, but when a state passes constitutional carry, that gives us an opportunity to then get training into schools.
Because some of the politicians are working on trying to get the National Guard to actually do training nationwide.
Okay.
So,
but where are they going to get their training? Because the National Guard, though they can shoot, they're not trained to be trainers.
Right. And they don't want to train you to be National Guardsmen with that type of mindset. So
yeah, I mean, we're a little close to Kent State University for that.
Well, the funny part is I mean, everybody points to either police officers or military, and both of those, although trained, are trained in a completely different manner than a private citizen with a gun in his pocket.
With personal defense, yeah. So it's do I grab my gun and run as far away the other way as I possibly can, or do I grab my gun and here I come to save the day?
Well, and the police and the military are trained to work as a team instead of as an individual.
Correct.
So you don't have a team, and they're not coming to save you.
They're not coming to be your team. So, yeah. It's sort of the battle that Ohio had with this Faster Saves Lives, where they ended up going clear to the Ohio Supreme Court with a lawsuit about the fact that there is nowhere. I don't know the idiosyncrasies of it, but it was something to do with the fact that in order to be able to carry a gun in a school, you had to have the same amount of training as a police officer.
But the thing is if you just have the gun training the police officer is one thing, but because they want you to take the whole 700 hours of learning how to drive a car and hostage negotiation,
how to give a ticket, and how to handcuff somebody and how to move them, transfer them,
pepper spray and batons and all kinds of other things, and
how to direct traffic. And I mean,
it's more of a. I could see some of the stuff where they're going to teach the teachers to work as a team. That would come in handy, especially if you knew there was 4 or 5 of you in the same building that were able to coordinate your efforts. But as to learning how to write a ticket or to direct traffic or control a crowd is probably...
So the Ohio legislature is going back to rewrite a portion of the Ohio law so that
everyone is looking for a simple solution to violent crime, and in that, most of the time, it is pointed at the something to do with a gun. They want to take your gun. They want to control your capabilities of getting a gun. They want to control your using the gun or storing the gun or something like this, and with background checks, all kinds of different things. And when in reality they're finding out through actual tests or whatever they want to call it, when they do their surveys and all this stuff, that it's criminals are always criminals because that's just who they are, and they need to actually do something, control the criminal. Once you find that that's who the guy is.
Well, there is the thing about, they make it illegal to murder someone. Well, it's already illegal to murder someone. So then they make it more illegal to murder them this way than that way. And that doesn't make any sense.
And that's the thing, too, is with the hate crimes, that's even worse, where they're piling on more penalties for something that's already
a crime.
Right. And in reality, it doesn't help anyone, whether it's the what.
So our video producer said that if we arm teachers, they will go from hitting the Starbucks before class to hitting the donut shop before class, because that 700 hours of training will send them to the donut shop. So that's cute. You're quick-witted. There you go. But Cam Edwards has a article that was in Bearing Arms. It says, "Beware of the simple solutions to violent crime. The truth is that if ending violent crime were simple, we would have probably done it by now. It's not that simple. And so it's a complex solution, and we want to give it one word or one sentence answers to fix it when you can't."
Well, and lately they're saying that there's a huge spike in homicide rates nationwide and stuff like this, and they're saying it just very suddenly in early 2020 it went up 30%. And some of the stuff that they're blaming it on, it really has nothing to do with it, but they say it's surges in legal gun ownership and lax gun laws in neighboring states, stuff like this.
Honestly, a lot of it is we've emboldened the criminals because we've told them that we're going to defund the police. Whether we defund them or not, they believe in their head there's less police, less responsibility.
Well, they're saying that COVID is the actual reason. There's less police on the street due to the virus. There's also the police that are on the street have been moved around, and instead of doing policing roles, now they're doing anti-COVID mandates and stuff like this. And so they're there's less hampered proactive policing and brought community policing tactics and outreach initiatives to a halt. So
I can believe all of that. And then when you add the riots and you add the defund the police and you add the lack of faith in police officers, so that we've trained
saying
people
widespread social unrest and anti-police sentiment.
There is so much of that, and so you add that to you're locked at home. Some, in my opinion, some criminals, it's based on boredom. It's not based on need. Others, it's that they were not able to, even if they were functioning, working, they then were stopping the work function.
There's new bail reforms are starting to play a part in this.
Oh, well, we threw so many people out of jail. So all of that stuff, there's all of that going on. We'll be back right after this.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, we're back, and Rob, I've got a question. So, as we look at the defund the police, we look at the different circumstances, the different beliefs in communities and police. What's your thought on this whole Kim Potter and the Minneapolis police?
Well, I believe that it's her training that is the problem. However they trained her is what she's going to do when you're, when things collapse, you go to your training.
Mm-hmm.
So had they trained her to use the taser first, she would have.
She was the trainer.
Well, somebody had to authorize what she's training. So apparently their program is flawed, and
Right.
what she did, everyone else on the police force will do in the same situation because they're all trained to do the same thing.
The same kind of a thing.
When we train to use you got your strong hand and your weak hand, and you bring them both to the fight, hopefully. You use your non-lethal stuff in your weak hand to allow your strong hand to be free to block and to do other things. And so why would her taser be in line with her standard right-hand draw is the one question that I have to ask. We would use your pistol is going to be on your right side. Your taser would be deployed from the left, and it's because it's a much more closer quarters combat type situation, so you don't need the pinpoint accuracy that you do of your regular sidearm.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing to see when
I'm not a police officer, nor did I stay at the Holiday Inn, but I see a flaw in their plan, and I can see whatever they did to whatever she did, that everyone else that was trained the same way is going to react the same way. Okay,
it's gonna be an interesting thing to watch to see where the charges are. I mean, so we've seen what the charges are. So now, what the sentence is going to be, where they're going to be with that is.
The problem that they have is they go after our I guess law enforcement personnel. It makes the rest of the law enforcement personnel I guess a little bit antsy about responding.
Right.
So now the next time someone is called out, they're less likely to react, which could be dangerous to themselves.
And
but it also could be dangerous to whoever called them in the first place.
To the general public.
Because if they're willing to, they're going to stand back to wait to see what happens because they are being prosecuted on both sides no matter what happens. This is going to go bad for us as a community. We've spent a couple hundred years now training police officers to do things in a certain manner. We have a set of rules that murder is illegal, assault is illegal, and yet we now are turning all this around, and it's now the good guy is the one that gets the brunt of the law enforcement or the political system of the courts, even though it shouldn't be a political system of the courts.
Right.
And, so how far can we go before no one bothers to come? When you call for a police, no one comes because it's not prudent for their lawyers won't allow them to respond.
No. Yeah.
So it's one thing we put a camera on them, but it's I think that it's going to go bad for us in the next couple of years over this.
I think we're just heading in a direction that I don't know that we want to head to, but I don't know that we can head it off.
Well, and as a thing, more people are buying guns, as we keep saying over and over again. And in 2020, they said 21 million new guns, up 60% over 2019. And they've been saying that 2021 has been a record year. I haven't seen actual numbers for how far of a record, but I can tell you that it's really hard to buy stuff when you go to the gun shop. There just is not much in the way of new product available because as soon as it comes in the door, it flies off the shelf, and so it's hard to get certain kind of ammo. It's hard to get certain kinds of guns. I can see that 2022 is going to be a record year for manufacturers.
Right.
I mean, as there's more and more people buying guns, there's going to have to be more capacity to build ammunition. We all these guns are not going to just go into a dresser drawer. They're going to get used, and so if we were right on the ragged edge of being able to supply everyone in the past, all of a sudden now we're way behind that number. Also politically, with them blocking some of the Russian imports and stuff like this, I mean, how much of a hit was that in the ammunition supply chain?
I don't know.
If that was say even 30%, I mean that's a huge number. And then if you add another 5 million guns a month or something, they were talking, that's a lot of ammunition that's going to need to be taking place. But the thing about that is that now they need something to shoot at. So there's going to be companies that sprout up to make targets. There's going to be all all the ranges are going to be backed up, so you're going to almost have to either join a club or get an appointment. So I think we're going to end up having to push for more public ranges.
I don't disagree with you.
And the little guy is going to have to do this. I think that government is so far behind on what they do and what they think that they got money. They're just not used to spending it, and I think we're going to end up having to push them into.
So we're going to start talking to all of our friends about opening a public range, using Pittman Robertson money, asking for grants.
It's hard for the general public to just buy a plot and start their own range. It's not impossible, but it's hard, but it would be quite, I believe, profitable in the near future to have a range.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as to whether you could do it with your local zoning and get away with noise ordinances and different things like this. There's a lot of things to think about when you're trying to put one in.
So much, and whether it's an internal or an external range, but yeah, so much more. Hey, if you're watching on one of the video shows, we'll be right back.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
When people use a firearm in self-defense, they could be arrested or sued and face extensive legal costs. Firearms Legal Protection provides uncapped legal defense for any member who uses a legal weapon in defense of themselves or others, providing members with peace of mind in these difficult situations by covering all attorney fees and other benefits. Use code EOTT at firearmslegal.com for a discount on all membership plans. Protect yourself. We'll protect you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Okay, folks, we are back, and we have another guest for you on this end of the year show. Is this the last show of the year, or do we have one more? No, this is the last show of the year.
We should also tell them if they got Christmas money, they could buy a 1911 from Car Arms, and they'd make themselves happy.
They could make a donation to CNJFO to stand and fight for the Second Amendment. They can Second Amendment Foundation.
Or they could buy a Tommy gun.
They could. Or they could get a flamethrower. I mean, well, no, I'm getting one first. Just saying. Just saying. I'm probably going to be a menace to society with a flamethrower, but it's going to be so much.
Probably need Band-Aids along with that flamethrower, I'll bet.
I don't know, some of that aloe gel for the birds. So, no, we've got John Petrlino, who's joining us on the show. And John is, well, one, he resides in New Jersey, so he lives in the belly of the beast. And so when he writes about the battles that happened for the Second Amendment,
he probably can't have a flamethrower or a Tommy gun. Maybe a 1911.
I don't know. We're gonna have to ask which ones of those can he have. Not that we're gifting him with any of them. Just to be clear. But John Petrlino writes he writes articles all over the place. He writes books, and so you see his name in a variety of places. But we invited him on just to talk about what's happening this year, what's happening next year, those types of things. So, hey, John, welcome to the show.
Happy birthday, John.
Hello, and thank you, Rob. Yes, the birthday did just recently pass by, as you know. It's a pleasure to be with you guys, as always. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. So, okay, let's talk about, since we're going to talk about your happy birthday video, because you had some of the movers and shakers in the Second Amendment world all wish you a happy birthday because your friend Charlie Cook coordinated that. So what was your thought when, how did they roll this video out to you?
So my wife came up to me the morning of, and she's like, do you want your first present now? And I'm like, sure. And she breaks out her phone and hands it to me and starts playing this video. And I'm like, that looks like Rob Campbell loading a muzzle loader. And I'm like, is this a gungram? I'm like, this is a gungram. I'm like, am I getting a gungram? And I did. I got the most epic, multi-state, multi-time zone gungram that's ever been performed. And very, very humbled by the participation. It was great to see everybody's faces on the morning of my birthday, for sure. So, and thank you. I appreciate you guys both for taking the time to do that, as well as everybody else. And I'm not even sure if I can remember everybody because it was quite a bit.
Yeah. So Charlie did queue up quite a few people that have their own shows, that have their own. They have their own YouTube pages. They have their own following. So it was pretty interesting. And then there was so many of them that was like, I didn't get a chance. So there's some that are going to have to be like John Petrlino's birthday take two. Right? So if we wanted our listeners to be able to see your epic gungram, where could they find it?
I think it's on Charlie's gungram page. So if you go to I believe it's Charlie's Gungrams. Is that or Charlie F. Cook on YouTube? So it's
on YouTube. So it's probably just Gungrams on YouTube. But Charlie F. Cook is the author of the Gungrams page. But yeah, so it's John Petrlino's happy birthday. But it indeed starts with Rob loading a muzzleloader. And if you go back and watch it closely, at one point he did what he called a square load. So he's talking to us as he's going along, and he's like, okay, so you put as much powder as you put in shot, and he loads this double-barreled muzzleloader and goes to shoot, And when he does, he's like, wow, I put in way more. That was a pretty hefty load. It almost knocks the gun out of his hands, and it kind of knocks him around a little bit. Then he has the conundrum of the second barrel is still loaded. And now what's he do with it? So he calls the neighbor kid over, who's, I don't know, 19.
He's still like 19 and bulletproof and fire resistant.
So we made him shoot it. So it was adorable.
That's great.
But our video producer, Paul Lathrop, was one of the people that was in that. So in not naming names, we are going to name that one, though, because Paul was there and Paul is here. So there is that. But it was great fun to do. And it was so amazing that everybody could keep a secret.
You know what's funny
I fully didn't expect them to be able to.
I've been loading that gun for probably 25 years, and I had never really paid attention to the squeaking of it when you're loading it until I got to hear Charlie's video, and
where it's like,
it was
as you're tamping it down. Right. It was great. And then the cannon, I don't know if you've listened to our show, but that's the cannon conversation all started with the fact that the cannon got loaded in the wheelbarrow and pushed to the range to be able to shoot the cannon.
Yeah, that was all phenomenal. I get a lot of pleasure out of it. Loved watching it, and it's great. And I appreciate the sentiments from everyone.
Oh yeah,
sure.
It was great fun to do. Whenever we can do, everybody sneak around and do something to surprise a friend. We're all in. That's it. So yeah, Charlie Chambers says he dated a woman from New Jersey once. His attorney says he's entitled to compensation. So okay, there we go. So you write. So where are your articles published? And so where can people find you, Mr. John Petrlino?
So I do all of my writing is primarily with Bearing Arms and Ammo Land. So those are the two places I write with regularity. I just did a tally. I've written over 200 articles this year, which is actually not a lot if you sit down and you look at the thousands that some of my colleagues have put out. But still, I was just doing a tally, and between Bearing Arms and Ammo Land, I think I did over 200 articles. And then I also will do blog entries. I try to do them a couple times a month. It depends on how the month is going for JM4 Tactical. And then I'm a part of a new program, a new web page that's going to be coming out. And I wasn't given the green light to completely tease it.
Okay.
So I went and I reached out to the content creator that's spearheading it, and he had just emailed me, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be on a couple of radio shows tonight. Do you want me to tease the new website? And I got a flat line, so I can't really talk about it.
Okay, so you're just going to say stay tuned. There's new stuff on the horizon, and at some point you'll come back and share it.
Absolutely, yep.
Why don't we hear what he thinks the industry's going to do in the next year?
Yeah, I mean, 200 articles. Considering that you have a full-time job, that's no small change there. But we'll add to that. But so where do you think the industry is going to go in 2022?
Oh, okay. So this is going to be fun. I kind of lean towards the same school of thought as Alan Gottlieb does, in that the states that are anti-civil liberty related are going to go completely apoplectic, and they're going to try to ramrod as much as they can down our throats in a fit of rage. And I don't think we're going to have to wait until after May or June for this to happen. I think that it's coming. And this was something that I was talking to you about. I think New Jersey had a lot of stuff going on the last couple of weeks. And I spoke a little bit about this on the Daily Bullet last week. And I had something wrong. I had said that the bills passed in the assembly, and they didn't. Right now, everything is stalled, but there's been I think there's 6 or 7 really, really bad bills in Jersey. We're talking 50 caliber ban. And I think this is indicative of what we could expect in the other states that do similar infringements on our liberties. So we're talking about 50 caliber bans. We're talking about registering handgun ammunition. Residents that move into the state, there was a law that they were proposing that if you're a new resident to the state, you have to get your firearms ID card within 30 days. Oh, okay, that's fine, whatever. Even though you actually, by New Jersey law, don't need a firearms ID card to possess a firearm in your home or on the exemptions, like back and forth from the house to the home. But the registration element of this, they wanted the new residents to register their handguns, which if we're going to buy a new handgun in New Jersey, you fill out a pistol purchaser's permit and certificate of registration. Now, they're actually supposed to be two different forms, but they're not. They're actually one form. That's a whole other ball of wax. But anyhow, they force you to register the acquisition of handguns. And they were making this now, if you're a non-resident moving in that's a new resident, you're also going to have to register all guns, including shotguns and rifles, which New Jersey does not have a shotgun and rifle registry right now. As it sits.
But you see that it's coming if this is what they're doing to the newbies, yeah.
Right. So allegedly, and again, I haven't seen the updated versions of this because everybody got incredibly mobilized when this bill package came out. And I think this has a lot to do with them trying to squeak this all by before the new legislative session, because Steve Sweeney, the Senate president, if you recall, was dethroned here in New Jersey by a truck driver named Ed Dirk, Ed the Trucker. Go check him out, Ed the Trucker. And he got hit by a truck. And our long-term Senate president, Steve Sweeney, whom we tried to recall in 2015, got beat, and he got beat bad.
That's pretty amazing. So I'm going to have you hold that thought right there because we're going to go to a commercial break. When we come back, we are going to have more from John Petrlino.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Sefcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, we are back, and with us we have author John Petrlino from New Jersey. He is not only a member of CNJFO, but he writes for Bearing Arms, he writes for AmmoLand, and he's written his very own book. And so as soon as I can see John, that would be great. So I'm assuming that he is still connected there. I was like, I'm talking to myself here. So okay, so what do you think is going to happen? Let's finish the thought that I stopped you from saying, and then we'll move on.
So New Jersey, they're up to very, very naughty things. And they introduced, like I said, this package of bills. And one of the very troubling ones was their safe storage mandate, which they wanted to require that not only do you store your firearms in a locked and secured container, but it also must be unloaded, and also the ammunition must be locked in a separate container. So you basically nullify self-defense 100% by requiring that. I mean, say even if you have a stored and kept provision, like as Massachusetts laws, it's supposed to be stored and kept if your firearm's not under your direct control. If you keep your firearm in one of those quick access boxes, you're good to go because it's locked down. That's not the way the law was written. It says when the firearm is not in use. And for those of us that are instructors that teach the unloaded and until ready for use gun rule, what I always say to my students is, in a self-defense context, you're using that firearm, so keep that in mind. And that's why you would store it loaded, because you're actually using it. I find it very, very hard to wrap my head around the fact that Jersey would accept that. Jersey would not accept that as an excuse to say, hey, we're using the firearm because it's loaded, ready to roll. So,
you just have to have a pajama holster.
It's providing you peace of mind, yeah.
Pajama holster.
There you go. Yep. You don't even have to be pants on, gun on. It would be pajama pants on.
Yeah. So what do I think? I think that we're probably going to see more of this. I think we're going to see the bad states get worse, and we're going to see the good states get gooder, right? We're going to see them improve.
Like you're saying, I'm seeing where New Jersey, New York, Connecticut are trying to push some of these laws in a hurry, like you're saying, where some of the others, Ohio's actually working on constitutional carry. So,
right. And so Ohio's so much ahead of the game. I mean, they're typically number 40, and we may be 21 or 22. It's pretty amazing.
No, it is, and I think you're correct. So we have Ohio in waiting, very close to constitutional carry or permitless carry. We had, what was it? Is it Louisiana or was it?
No, it's one of the A's, so it's Alabama or Arkansas.
Alabama, they vetoed it, right? So that was, but that's close.
Right, Pennsylvania was close.
Veto.
I think North Dakota also was working on some version of it.
So I think we're going to see better, better stuff in the good states and worse things in the bad states. And I think that we're going to get a positive opinion in New York State Rifle Pistol Association. It's just a matter of if it's going to be broad or it's going to be narrow. I personally believe it's going to be broad enough to where New Jersey's permitting scheme, California, Massachusetts, which Massachusetts isn't that bad in comparison to, say, New Jersey, those 8 holdout states, I think that the ruling is going to be such that our laws will be overturned as well. Now, if that's going to require more litigation, probable. There's cases sitting there and waiting now also from Jersey with the Supreme Court just languishing. So hopefully we'll get some sort of a good opinion, and then maybe that case gets remanded with new instructions saying, hey, we ruled on this, and this is what we expect you to do, kind of like what they did with Catano. And that was an important case. Catano got remanded back down to the Massachusetts Supreme Court, I believe, and the precedent that was set with that remand allowed states like New Jersey to overthrow stun gun and taser bans, Hawaii as well, and the state of New York. Now, I believe New York City is still keeping a stun gun taser ban. But anyhow, we're going into the weeds on this. But I think with the remand, we still will be able to use that to our advantage. In this case, I think we're going to get a solid opinion. I don't think we'll get anything, other than that.
Yeah.
But
I think that what we're going to do is we're going to hear that they start to make their announcements, and you will not be able to hear the words for the fact that the attorney generals in about 8 or 9 states, you will hear their howling cry that drowns out the reading of what the Supreme Court has to say. That's what I think.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, what is wrong? We're talking about 8 holdout states. We're not talking about 50% of the country being divided on this issue.
Nope.
We're very close to 50% of the country not requiring a permit to carry at all. I mean, that's what we're closer to than not carrying, right? So the 8 holdout states and New York, New Jersey, California, and Hawaii are the worst out of all of them, and Maryland. So those
they think
the worst.
They think that they're the only ones who count, though. That's the problem.
Right.
He was saying about the permit when you move into New Jersey, and then some of the states they issue that Ford card, and they're saying that they got 30 days to get that, but they said that the wait time is usually 90 to 120 days. So even though they tell you got 30 days, they can't
do
pull their
part.
end of it off in the time that needs to be done.
Right.
Well,
So
insane.
the new Harvard study came out about women and guns, saying that the amount of guns that were sold in 2021 were 2021. 50% of new guns were sold to women. When prior to that, 30% of all guns were owned by women. So what do you think of that huge step in females and female gun ownership?
I say welcome. I think it's great. It's about time. It's the equalizer. I think it's a wonderful thing. We need more women involved in this and engaged in this. And we're not going to. I don't want to be sexist or anything like that. But women are more emotional than men, generally speaking. And when you have women engaging in the Second Amendment and Second Amendment related activities, there may be removing some of that emotion as they learn more and more about it, and it's more pragmatic. Instead of, say, a screaming commie mommy with a petition at the grocery store saying, "Oh, you need to sign this. We don't like dead children." Like, who says that they want dead children? Nobody, abortionists, that's about it, right? So who wants dead children? Nobody wants that. So trying to exploit emotional arguments is ridiculous, and seeing more women involved in the shooting activities is really promising to me, because now we don't have to worry about this being a man-only thing. It's an everybody thing. This isn't a middle-aged, white, overweight, bearded guy thing. It's for everyone.
Family night at the range.
Right, I might fit that demographic, but that doesn't mean it has to be just for me. It's for everyone. And, that's like something that Tony Simon preaches with The Second is for everyone. It really is for everyone. And I love having women involved. I love training women. I love working with them. They follow instructions. It's just a win-win to me.
It really is. And so when that Harvard study also said that the minority gun ownership is up to where African Americans and Hispanics make up 40% of all new gun purchases in that same block of time. Isn't that an amazing, amazing number? So, folks, John Petrlino, you want to look him up. He's on AmmoLand. He is on Bearing Arms. And you can find him on Amazon with his own book.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. Realize FAC